What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a market update, this time for the most recent Hakes auction lot. There were lots of pretty good items here. It was kind of a smaller batch, nothing particularly crazy. There obviously was some pretty nice items here just based on this thumbnail. We had a vinyl Cape Jawa mint on card that did have some staining on the cape, a 21 back Boba Fett, and some loose graded figures actually. And I did pick up a couple of really nice items that I thought were very fair prices, but in general the prices again were down. There were a couple of really strange exceptions. One of them, this Rancor Keeper, it was a 77A back. I have no idea what happened, but I got me and a bunch of friends of mine were all laughing so hard watching this thing escalate to complete insanity. So we'll cover that towards the end of the video. But as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you found something in here that you can hopefully target for your collection. But the first one is that 12 back A vinyl Cape Jawa. Now, it was graded AFA 75, but obviously the cape did have some staining on the cape, and that does happen sometimes with these vinyl Cape Jawas. It also happens with the Tusken Raider is another one you really got to watch out for. It's kind of a degradation issue, and I don't know what causes it, but it is what it is. The value code is something that we talk about in all Hakes videos. That's just the estimate from Hakes as to where they think it's going to end up. And keep in mind that whatever you bid on Hakes, you got to pay an 18% buyer's premium on top of that. So for everything that I'm covering, all the prices that I give you in this video, it includes the 18% buyer's premium. It does not include shipping costs, which are not insubstantial sometimes. And it also does not include any applicable sales taxes if you happen to live in a state where they collect sales tax. Luckily, I am not, so I did pick up a few items in this batch. The winning bid on this one was $8,850, and I was expecting kind of between 10 and 11,000 based on the last sale. I didn't pull up what the last one sold for that had a stained cape on it. I believe it was an AFA 80 that had a stained cape that sold in the summer of this year for Hakes. But so it came in a little bit lower than that. It was an AFA 75, so a little bit lower, but 88.50 took that one home. That's the lowest I've seen for a mint on card vinyl Cape Jawa in a little while now. But obviously it did have some defects. So interesting to see that one sell. Next up was a 20 back A Sand People. This one was graded AFA 80. Beautiful example. No staining on the capes for this bad boy. And I was actually bidding on this one, and I think I finished in second on this. You know, really beautiful example, unpunched, no price sticker. And so I ended up passing because I got, I was kind of trying to juggle a bunch of different items as they were ending. I ended up getting a couple of loose graded figures, and I did end up getting the 32 back B for the Tusken Raider instead of this one. I got mine for super cheap. I mean, it was like, I think $400 after the premium, so $410, $415, somewhere in there. So I decided to spend a little bit less money. I just didn't, I think that this price was fair. Don't get me wrong. I just decided that $941 was kind of a top end line, and towards up, more than I was willing to spend, at least right now. I just got too many other kind of irons in the fire, so to speak. So this 20 back A, I think, is worth every penny of $941. I was even tempted to bid one more time, which would have pushed it over $1,000, but I just decided to let it go. But that one was a really nice example, and maybe I'll pick up a later, one that's on. Maybe I'll pick up one that's got a price sticker and that's punched instead of an unpunched, no price sticker example. But I thought that was a really pretty one. Next up was the 21 back A Snaggletooth. This was another one I almost put in one more bid on, but I decided not to. The final bid on that one was $826, straight 80s for the sub score, unpunched. It did have a price sticker in the upper right-hand corner, so that held the price down just a little bit. But again, I think that's another number that is down a little bit. The value code on that one was 1,000 to 2,000. It came in at 826. Very fair price in my mind for a beautiful example of a 21 back A Snaggletooth. Next up here is that 21 back B Boba Fett, straight 80s for the sub scores. This one was a punched example. I was expecting towards the upper end of the value code, which was $5,000 to $10,000. I thought for sure this one would easily hit 10,000, but it was punched, and there's a more discerning collector that usually bids at Hakes. A lot of international buyers, And more on that in a little while when we get to that Rancor Keeper. But, again, I think 8,500, 8,449 was the final bid on that one. That's a number that I would be more than willing to pay if I had that kind of money. So beautiful example and a very good price in the current market environment for a very top level. I mean, this is not a mid-range. This is an AFA 80 21 back B Boba Fett. Clear blister, just a gorgeous example and worth every penny of that price in the current market environment. Some loose graded figures before we dig into some later mint on cards. Here was a China COO Luke Skywalker farm boy. Blonde hair, light pants, AFA 85. The value code was 200 to 400. I was like, that's probably going to be closer to 500. I have a friend I think that bid on this one. And I said I would expect 500 on this one pretty easily. And 473 was the final winning price on that one. I thought that was a great price. Just, we just documented, I think, one of these. I can't remember if it was the same COO or not, but it sold for around 550 or 600 easily on eBay in an auction. So to pick that one up for 473. The loose graded figures in general were really good deals. I picked up an AFA 85 Luke Hoth for $181 after the buyer's premium. And I picked up a no COO AFA 85 Han Hoth with the dark pants. Both of those brand new case styles for the same price, $181. So can't beat those prices. I mean, an AFA 85 Luke Hoth is tough to find, loose graded, brand new case. And to get it for $181, I was very happy on that one. So this one was really good. This one was the no COO brown hair dark pants AFA 80 plus. That one sold for $260. Another very fair price. That one did have the older case style. I want to talk more about this one because I had so many different subscribers and friends that reach out to me asking what they should pay for this. And I think they all ended up backing away on it. It was an AFA 85 plus Hong Kong dark brown hair. And if you guys remember from my loose graded videos, this is one that's particularly expensive, but this one has started to yellow. And I don't think everyone that reached out to me, nobody recognized that it was yellowing. So you can see very clearly that the torso has yellowed since grading. It's got a little faint yellow to it relative to the legs and the arms, but it is the harder to find dark brown hair. But the grade, in my opinion, is not applicable anymore. It had an archival case, but it's still yellowed. AFA 85 plus. And that one sold for $500. Very fair price though. I mean, I would have been very happy to buy this figure in its current condition for $500. I'm an uncirculated 85 for this particular COO and hair color, and I paid a lot more than $500 for it. But mine has not yellowed since grading. I guess it's possible that AFA knows something I don't know, and these yellow much easier than some of the other factories, but in my opinion this one's probably yellowed since grading. Next up was a no COO Princess Leia AFA 85 old case style. That one sold for $265. Great deal on that one, even if it did have the older case style. Here was a 75 plus no dent blue snags. That one sold for $584. I mean, we see some blue snags that are loose and ungraded sell for $450 that are not nearly as nice as this one. So $584 for that I thought was a steal of a deal. Next up was a 32B Yoda debut card punched example. That one sold for $730. Maybe a little high, but not too much. I mean, there's an AFA 80 plus on eBay right now that's at auction, and it's over $800 and it hasn't closed yet. So that's probably a pretty fair deal. $730 on that one. Next up was an AFA 85 41 back A Death Star droid. Beautiful example, unpunched, crystal clear blister. A little bit of an upgrade versus my example that's punched. That one sold for $881. I mean, I paid for my CAS 85, which I think is overgraded. I paid $500 for mine, so that gives you a reference point for how much more you got to pay for an AFA 85 that I think is every bit of an AFA 85. So $881, very fair price in my mind. I'm confused about this one. This one sold for $714. This is the 41 back A Rebel Commander. It's on, the survival kit offer, but it's a punched example with a price sticker. And while certainly a beautiful example, I'm not trying to disparage the item. It's beautiful. I'm just surprised it sold for $713. I had this one on my watch list to potentially put a bid in on it, and then it just blew past my number. I was expecting kind of $450 to $500, but $713. Maybe one of y'all can explain why this one sold so high, but It just seems like a lot of money for a punched example with a price sticker from Hakes. I mean, I could see it maybe, in some kind of weird bidding war, but just kind of a strange price point in my mind. Next up was an AFA 80 48C Revenge of the Jedi Boba Fett. Now, it was graded AFA 80, but there's a reason that Hakes included multiple angles of the blister on this Boba Fett. It's clearly overgraded. I mean, if you look at the blister, it's got a major crunch there, and they show it from multiple angles. They never do this unless they want the bidders to be aware that there's more issues beyond what is already shown in the photos, because it maybe doesn't come out very clearly when you look at the front, the front video. It's very clear up here. It's got a major dent. But if you look at the grading on it, I mean, it was graded 80, 80, 85. No way this is an overall 80, in my opinion. This is like a 80, 75, 85 for an overall 75, in my opinion. So this one was drastically overgraded, in my opinion. Not drastic, but overgraded. And there's a reason that Hakes included those multiple angles of the blister. Anytime they do that, get your antenna up, raise your antennas, because something, they're making people aware that, hey, in my opinion, this might be a little overgraded, but it's still a beautiful item. I'm not trying to say it's not. And I had several people reach out on this one, and I said, it's probably going to end up between 3,000 and 3,500. It actually came in at 2,920. So, pretty good deal in my mind for what it is. I mean, if you could live with the fact that it's slightly overgraded, I'd pay that number all day long. It's an unpunched example of Boba Fett mint on card with the Revenge of the Jedi sticker. That's a nice item for $3,000. Next up was an AFA 90. Same car back, 48 back C snags with the Revenge of the Jedi. This one sold for $2,206. So if there's ever more proof that these whale buyers who want to add big boy high grade items to their collection are willing to pay up, this is it. The value code was 700 to 1,000. It sold for $2,206. So big number. That's still not the craziest one though, relative to some of these others. AFA 90 B-Wing pilot. Now, a number of the Return of the Jedi items in this video were labeled by AFA as clear blister, but the blister has yellowed since then, and that's probably going to happen with every Return of the Jedi US card, right? And they'd say that. I mean, to Hakes' credit, they say at time of grading, blister was clear, has since yellowed slightly, okay? So this label is not applicable anymore, but people are still bidding these items up for some reason, and I have no idea why. It's very clearly a yellowed blister since grading, right? It's yellowed since it's graded. And the value code was 200 to 400, which I agree with. I would say towards the upper end of that. Even slightly yellowed, it's probably a $400 item, but it still sold for $720. So, in my opinion, it's people who don't care. I mean, they're like, it's AFA 90. I want it. I'm willing to pay $700. I could see this slight premium, but then it gets a little bit more crazy. This 77A Rancor Keeper, I have no idea what happened on this, and me and several other people were watching this as the bidding was just going haywire. And the only thing, I've got a couple of theories on this one, okay? The final bid on this was $3,848. They're almost $3,900 for an AFA 85 77 back A Rancor Keeper. This is a common item. Again, it was labeled clear blister. It clearly had yellowed since grading. Now, here are my theories. There's somebody that has look, the case even has bad scuffing on it. Look at this. Look at the scuffing on the case for this. So I have no idea why this thing sold for $3,800. My first and most likely theory is there were two Arab oil sheiks, oil barons over in the Middle East somewhere, and they didn't care, and they had to have it for their collection. They collect high grade Return of the Jedis. So they got into a bidding war. It has to be a bidding war between two people who just do not care about money, right? To spend $3,800 on this item. So that's my first theory. My second theory is somebody accidentally put in $3,800 for their bid when they meant to put in $380, which is probably what this is worth. $380 to $450, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's my second theory. And then somebody else just bid it up for some reason. So I have no idea what happened, but very clearly somebody really wanted it, or two people really wanted this item, and they bid it all the way up to $3,848. So I thought I've seen everything at Hakes, but that one takes the cake, in my opinion. Next up was a 79 back A Luke Jedi AFA 85. It was again labeled clear blister, but has yellowed since grading. And that one sold for $18.65. I mean, another number that makes no sense whatsoever. I have a yellowed blister for this exact same card back that I sold for like $7.50. Same grade too. So I have no idea why this thing sold for $18.65, other than people wanted to have that label that says clear blister, even though it had yellowed since grading, and that label no longer applies. So absolutely crazy what some people do in these auctions. Here's another one that I bid on. It just got too high. I think I finished second on this one. This was an ungraded 65 back A Yoda. And it was a clear blister, and it was certainly still a clear blister, unpunched with the target price sticker. I put in a pretty high bid at 8 o'clock, and it was winning up until about 5 minutes left on the countdown. And then somebody blew past me and took it. And the final winning bid was $1,064. So I could have bid one more time, but that would have pushed it over $1,100 for an ungraded mock. Way more money than I wanted to spend. So once I knew that I couldn't get this one, that's when I went after my loose graded Hoth figures and the graded 32B Tusken Raider. So it was beautiful. I think it's worth this final winning price, because it's hard to find a clear blister Return of the Jedi Yoda. But I just didn't want to, I just couldn't justify going any higher. I just had my number in my mind, and once it hit that number, I said, okay, I'm out. And so I stuck to my guns on that one. And that's something you got to do on Hakes, because it gets so tempting to get into a bidding war with somebody. And so if I have my final number going into Hakes with the items that I really want, and if it goes past that number, I walk away, and I don't feel bad at all. So anyway, I finished second on this one, but that was a beautiful example. It was certainly worth way more than the value code of $200 to $400, but I just couldn't go any higher on that one. And I decided to pick up some smaller, lesser items versus this one. So congrats to the winner on that one, but I couldn't do it. Next up was a clear blister. This one was the Han Solo on the 77 back A, and it's still a clear blister. That one sold for $460. I thought that was a good buy. That was a really good buy. It's tough to find this one still with a clear blister, but probably would grade out about an 80 is my guess. And you had to be careful, because a number of these ungraded mocks on Hakes did have color touch-up. And Hakes was kind enough to say that in the description. So you got to make sure to go through all the item descriptions with a fine-tooth comb. Some of them were missing proofs of purchase on the back. Some of them did have ink touch-up. But this one did not have either of those. And I thought $460 for that Han Trenchcoat 77A was a good deal. Finally was a Paplu. This was another one I bid on. It just went way too high. It was a punched example. I have no idea why it went so high. This was the 79 back C, I believe it is, with the Anakin offer. Obviously made in Mexico, Lily Letty. So it's the last 17. So I bid on this one, and then it just went skyrocketed. You could pick this up on eBay for like $250 max. This one sold for $364 and $363 and 44 cents. I don't know why that one went so high. But I was like, I think I was around $200 or so, and then I got blown past with 2 or 3 more bids. So anyway, to each their own, but to me, that was a little bit of an overpay relative to this is a very common item you can pick up on eBay for $200 to $250 pretty easily in the current condition it was in. But anyway, I hope you guys found some things you liked on Hakes. Overall, the prices were down again, and there were some good deals. Obviously, that Rancor Keeper and that Luke Jedi were just crazy talk. I don't know what happened on those. Maybe in the comments below, you can give me your theories. If you happen to buy the Rancor, I would love to hear from you as to why you paid $3,800 for a $380 item. So anyway, thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.